Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and thanks so much for joining me. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the societal pressure that we might feel to conform and set goals and aspirations to achieve in 2012, what with it being New Year. And what this video isn't going to be is a list of goals that I plan to achieve throughout 2026. It's more about using January to pause, reset, and take some time to do some gentle reflection before setting those goals and making sure that they're fluid and adaptable throughout the month. I can't speak for anyone else, but I feel like for me there's this collective exhaustion, what with Christmas and New Year's being over and having had quite an eventful, shall we say, 2025. I feel like I'm lacking that capacity to actually be in the mindset of making realistic goals for myself. And I want to make sure that they're meaningful and something that I can actually achieve and look forward to throughout the year. So in saying all that, I've made a conscious decision to opt out of setting goals under any kind of pressure or societal obligation. There will be goals, but I'll be using January to kind of reflect over those goals rather than setting them from the 1st of January. And this isn't to say I haven't done this in the past. I think we can all get caught up in the pressure to conform and, you see on social media and marketing that surrounds us that January the 1st is the arbitrary date in which to reinvent yourself and become a new version of you. And I'm just not buying into that this year. I'm wanting to set my goals within my own timescales and with my own time frame. I want them to be realistic and achievable to make sure that they have some kind of meaningful impact on my life, which is the whole point of this exercise in the first place. So I really want to take my time and think my goals through and just give them the intention and consideration that I think they deserve. And setting goals from the 1st of January can easily feel overwhelming, especially when you've been through some kind of big life change. Like for me, it was a breakup, but for you, it could be something completely different. And there's that overwhelming sense of having to get the goals all in line, all in order by the 1st of January, which just isn't the case. So this video is going to be more of a very soft, gentle reset rather than a hard reset with specific goals in mind. I think for my personal situation, it will give my nervous system time to catch up on the previous year that's just gone. And also the truth of the matter is that I just don't have the capacity to do a hard reset on the 1st of January. And just to be clear, a gentle reset isn't about doing absolutely nothing. I think for me, it's about doing the right things at the right pace that suits my mentality and my position in life at the moment. So if that's something that resonates with you, then definitely keep watching. I do think it's important to do some reflection on the year that's just gone to hopefully assist in putting together those goals for the coming new year. And for me, when I think back to 2025, I think the one word that I would use to describe it would be tumultuous. I mean tumultuous in a good way and bad way. Obviously, if you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that I went through a breakup last year. So that's why I'm using the word tumultuous, but it was good and bad. I mean tumultuous in the sense that obviously my whole life was upheaved and I moved out of the apartment that I shared with my ex, and I'm now living solo in my new apartment as a single woman in her late 30s. So it's very tumultuous in that sense, but in recognizing the tumultuous side, I also have to recognize the good parts of 2025 where I was able to find little pockets of joy and fun in between the heartbreak and the rocky emotions and all the things that come with heartbreak and grieving the loss of relationship. So I can't say that 2025 was all bad. It was definitely an experience that I would not like to repeat, but I think that's just part and parcel of the tapestry of life. Sometimes you have good years or good times of the years, and other times they're not so good. But I feel like the bad times do definitely make you appreciate the good times a lot more. And that's something that I want to cling on to for 2026, just recognizing and acknowledging the small things in life. I didn't really set any goals at the beginning of 2025. I'm literally so bad at this. I'm quite good at setting goals throughout the year and then reflecting on those within the year rather than doing goals at the beginning and reviewing those goals at the end. When I think about it, there are two things that kind of spring to mind. The first thing is being consistent with my Reformer Pilates, and I absolutely love my Reformer Pilates classes. They make me so happy. It's a great community there, and I've really noticed a improvement in my levels of fitness, so really happy with that side of things. And another thing that I managed to achieve in 2025 was quitting sugar for a whole month. So if you're anything like me with a massive, huge sweet tooth, you'll know this is a huge achievement, and it's something that I want to do again in 2026 if I can. But it was a big challenge, and I'm really proud of myself for actually sticking through that in 2025. Obviously, I'm really proud of getting through the heartbreak and the breakup that I went through. I'm not saying that, you know, it's over. 2026 has started and the grieving and emotional turmoil has stopped, but it's something that I'll keep working on throughout 2026. But I am happy that I've got to a place where I feel relatively okay about things. And obviously there's good days, there's bad days. Sometimes it changes from hour to hour, minute to minute. I think overall I'm dealing with things in a way that is right for me. And that's probably the most important thing, and one of the things I'm most proud of 2025. So, bring on 2026. I think one thing that I'd love to leave behind in 2025 is a lot of rumination about the past and worrying about the future. I'd love to be able to be present in the present moment and not be thinking about the past, not be thinking about the future, just being able to enjoy being in the present moment. And that's something that I really want to focus on in 2026. So happy to leave the ruminating in the past. We can leave that in 2025 because, yeah, it just needs to stay there. So how I'm going to approach this soft reset for 2026 is that I'm going to keep January as a transition month for me. January 1st clearly isn't the day that I sit down and make concrete goals and think about aspirations for myself. I'm also conscious that I don't want to be setting goals that marry up with an older version of me or chasing an old identity that no longer exists. So January as a transition month is more about getting to know my new normal, getting to know the new me, being comfortable with my new environment, and just seeing where I want things to go. So as part of the gentle reset, I'll just be observing in January, observing my thoughts, my feelings, noticing my energy levels, and just seeing what springs to mind, like what is motivating me, what things do I feel really nourish my soul, and what things do I feel like I want to continue for the next 12 months. And I think using January as a transition month, for my circumstances anyway, will be really effective in making those goals more meaningful and more achievable throughout the year, and also more fun and realistic and more attuned to who I am as a person now, not the person that I was 2, 6, 12 months ago. So that's why I'm taking the time in January to do this very calm, very gentle and soft reset for 2026. And I think it's important to acknowledge that there's no harm in collecting information and gathering one's thoughts before going through the goal setting process. Okay, so I probably yapped on enough, a bit longer than I was expecting to. So now I just want to run through some of the goals, and they're not really goals, they're more themes or intentions that I want to think about over the next couple of weeks, which will then inform the goals that I set for myself. And I'm not talking about anything crazy. I'm talking about 1 or 2 specific goals under each umbrella theme that I'd like to think about setting for the next 12 months. And the whole point is to keep them quite fluid. These might change or amend over the next couple of weeks or even throughout the year. And that's the whole point of this process. Like, I don't want anything to be too concrete or set in stone, because this process is supposed to work for me and me alone. So I should have the agency and the wherewithal to adjust accordingly, depending on where I feel like I am in life. And that ultimately is the point of this very soft and gentle 2026 reset, to allow myself the time and the space to come up with intentions and goals that I want to focus on without feeling rushed or pressured in any way. So without further ado, I'm going to try and breeze through some of these themes and key intentions without going into too much detail, because I don't want this video to be super long. And the first theme or area of focus is gentle adventures and time away. So I really love travel and going away and getting out of normal routine and having a change of environment. And I feel like 2025, there was limited time and space for that. So that's something that I want to set some goals around in 2026 moving forward. And it's not about running through a checklist of places to visit that I need to rush to so I can tick that box. It's more about noticing how I feel when I go away and the kind of feelings it ignites within me. And I know there'll be good feelings. So I want to do more gentle adventures, whether that be domestic domestically or internationally, it doesn't really matter. It could even be adventures within the city that I live in Sydney. So it's more about focusing on the feeling and how it impacts my life in a positive way. But I do feel like this is something that I do want to put a bit more focus on in 2026. I feel like in 2025 there was just maybe a little bit too much chaos to be able to focus on that. And it's not to say that I didn't go anywhere, but I don't feel like I was living in the present moment when I was away. So that's definitely something that I want to be cognizant of in 2026. The second theme is about caring for mind and body. Intentions here aren't going to be about hitting specific fitness goals or running marathons, even though I do want to run a marathon next year or the year after, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's not about harsh or aggressive fitness goals. It's more about, again, noticing how my body feels when I'm doing things. Like, for example, the reformer Pilates that I mentioned previously, that makes my body feel so good and so alive, and I feel really fit doing that, and that makes me happy. So it really is about noticing how my body reacts or feels in the moment when I'm doing certain self-care or fitness activities. And also under this umbrella, I want to be able to embrace or take on gentle habits without feeling the pressure to keep them up. If I'm noticing that my energy levels are low one afternoon or one day, I don't want to have to feel the pressure to do some exercise or go to that fitness class or go to that Pilates class. I'm also becoming more conscious of how my hormones affect my energy levels throughout the month. So that's something that I'm learning more about and being more conscious of when it comes to doing high impact activities. So I feel like the caring for mind and body intentions or general theme will be less about setting very specific fitness goals and more about noticing how that I'm feeling in my body within myself and how those fitness goals impact how I'm feeling. The next theme is personal growth. Now, I think this umbrella might tie in with other themes that I'm going to talk about, but I think for this one, it's more about intellectual stimulation and how I want to nourish my mind. And some things I've been thinking about recently is reading more books, whether that be fiction or non-fiction, or reading journals, just finding a way to educate myself and learn new things, because I'm the kind of person that loves learning, whether it's formally or informally. I love watching educational YouTube videos. So one thing that I might be thinking about is some form of structured learning, whether that be a course or, I don't know, maybe like a part-time something or other, like a college course. Nothing too crazy, like I'm not thinking about doing a PhD just yet, but I just think something that's quite structured. You know, you have modules that you work through. There are elements that are group activities, elements that you have a tutor for, and yeah, it involves some kind of interaction with other people that are also learning. I think that would be quite fun, and kind of harking back to university days, because I feel like when you're in your career, you get to a certain point and there's a certain ceiling that you reach where, not to sound big-headed, but you kind of know most of what there is to know about your job. So I feel like some element of structured learning will come under this theme of personal growth, and that's something I'm really excited about exploring further. The fourth theme that I'm looking at setting some goals and intentions for is relationships with myself and others. If anything, 2025 has taught me that the relationship that I have with myself is one of the most important relationships that I can nurture, and I feel like the relationship that I have with myself has probably changed the most in the last year. And I'm talking about sitting with myself during uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, and just the general self-talk that I give myself day to day. And that's all part and parcel of the relationship that I have with myself. And I do feel like it's something that I've been working on in 2025 and definitely want to continue on in 2026. In terms of the specific goals that I set here, again, I'm not quite sure yet, and it's something that I will need to have a think about, but I do know I want that continuity of working on sitting with uncomfortable thoughts and feelings and looking at ways at how I can be more efficient in how I manage that in a positive way. So yes, relationship with myself is definitely number one. In terms of relationships with others, even though I am a self-confessed introvert, I still crave connection with other people. I love people, I love being around people. It's just that when I have periods of spending time with people, I love to have my own downtime. So that's to me what an introvert is. An introvert is not someone that isolates themselves and hates people. Please, let's not get that twisted. So being a self-confessed introvert, relationship with other people is definitely something that I would love to work on. And I feel like 2025, there was a lot of going through negative periods with the breakup, and that did cause some level of isolation. So that's something that I would like to kind of break out of for 2026 and, meet more people and foster those friendships and relationships that are either pre-existing or making new friends. So I'm really open to any opportunities that I can make happen there. And yeah, it's something I definitely want to work on in 2026. So I'll be setting some intentional goals around fostering those kind of relationships as well, which I'm really excited about. And this kind of feeds into familial relationships as well. My home country is the UK and I live on the other side of the world in Australia. So it can be difficult and challenging and more of an effort to keep in touch given the distance and different time zones. So that's definitely something that I want to work on in 2026. And then obviously there's romantic relationships. Now I haven't given up totally on finding my partner, but I think I want to prioritize just being the best version of myself that I can be. So when that person does hopefully eventually come along, I know that I'm in the right frame of mind and I've worked on all the things that I want to or need to be able to show up as a good partner. And I feel like all the things that I'm discussing in these videos will help me to achieve that. So that is a good thing. The fifth theme that I want to set some intentions and goals for in 2026 is nurturing creativity. Now, I feel like scheduled creativity has been something that's been lacking in my life for a long time. So 2026 is the year I want to really try and focus on this. For me, creativity is about being involved in some kind of activity that just gets you into this flow state where you're so focused on what you're working on that you don't have time or space to think about the past or future, and you're just focused on that present moment. And this ties into what I was talking about previously in living in the present moment rather than ruminating about the past or worrying about the future. So there are certain creative activities that I would like to involve more in 2026, one of which is YouTube. So I'm doing it right now. I've already started, which I'm obviously very excited about. And I think YouTube has a lot of creative elements that I don't experience in my day-to-day life or in my career, from the process of recording to editing to adding in graphics and music. Like, I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely a learning curve, I will say that, but it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time now. So I'm really happy that I'm pursuing this creative endeavor, and long may it continue. So yeah, please keep watching to see how I get on. I'm not sure if I'm going to be setting any kind of specific goals around YouTube. I know some creators like to set numerical goals in terms of numbers of subscribers. I think for me, the important thing about YouTube is that I'm consistent and enjoy the process. So yes, I'm not sure if there'll be any specific goals around YouTube. We shall see. There are some other creative endeavors that I'd like to incorporate into 2026. I might talk about those in my next video once I've had a chance to think about what they might look like over the next couple of weeks. The sixth theme that I want to build some goals and intentions around in 2026 is building wealth and financial security. My attitude towards building wealth and personal finance has definitely changed since going from a 2-income household to a 1-income household. I'm definitely more conscious now of where my money goes and how to get it working to combat things like inflation and plan for future events such as retirement, which seems a long way off, but in the grand scheme of things isn't that far away. I would say that money is quite a difficult thing to plan for when you're single in midlife, because the hope is that you will eventually meet a life partner and be able to share costs like housing and living expenses. But there's also a scenario where that might not happen. So you kind of need to be able to plan for any eventuality. And obviously time waits for no man. The older you're getting, the closer you are to eventual retirement. So financial planning really isn't something that you can wait until you get into a long-term relationship, because you just don't know when that will actually happen. So for this reason, I've had to have some very serious conversations with of myself about money and finances and what they look like for me in the future, because I didn't actively start managing my money until about 3 or 4 years ago. So I feel like I have quite a lot to catch up on. I definitely have some very intentional goals around budgets and savings and planning for retirement that I want to incorporate into 2026. And it's not about being able to afford life's luxuries or live some kind of elaborate lifestyle. It's more about having the freedom in life to make choices that align with your values and the way you actually want to live your life, rather than being confined to limited choices because of the lack of financial security. This is definitely something that's important to me, and like I said, I feel like I do have some elements to catch up on. I feel like this is a whole video in itself, but definitely a video for another day. I won't go into too much detail here, but you will be seeing some very serious goals around building wealth and personal finance in my January reset video. So on to the next theme or intention for 2026, and that is home comforts. Now, as you know, I recently moved into a new apartment that I'm renting, and over the last couple of months it's all been about trying to settle in and making it feel cozy and comfortable and more grounded. And this is something that I want to take into 2026, because I think as a renter rather than a homeowner, there are some limitations as to how you can make your home and your immediate environment feel very cozy and comfortable. And I'm talking about, hanging pictures on the wall and decorating, painting things. There's very much restrictions as to what you can and can't do in a rental property. So I feel like in previous years, that's really limited my ability to make places feel very homely. And I've always used like secondhand furniture because I know I'll be moving around in maybe a year or two and that furniture will get bashed around. So why not just use secondhand? Little things like that. But I think this time round, I'm really wanting to embrace the coziness and homely feel and make it feel like my own. Put my mark on this apartment. It doesn't matter if I'll be here for 6 months, a year, or 5 years. I just want it to feel homely, because having that sanctuary and that place to come back to after a hard day of work is just so grounding and so meaningful to me. And I didn't realize how much that was the case until the last part of 2025. It'll probably involve lots of trips to IKEA and shopping for home comforts and homely things, which I've never really done before or been excited about before. But this is the new me going into 2026, and I'm going to embrace it. So moving on to theme number 7, which is finding direction and balance in my corporate career. I'm very lucky in that I haven't had to experience any major redundancies or layoffs in my job. It's been quite secure, and it's a place that I've worked for, since I've been in Australia really. So I feel very secure and stable in my job. And I know that hasn't been the case for quite a lot of people in Australia and elsewhere. So I do feel very grateful and very lucky that my job up until now has been very secure and very stable. Hopefully that will continue into the future, but you just don't know. I did get promoted towards the end of 2025 as well, so I don't see me having lots of goals and lots of intentions for my professional career. I think the main thing that I'd want to look at doing in 2026 is just easing gently into the new role and making sure that I'm performing to the best of my ability without going into burnout or overexhaustion, or just being busy for the sake of being busy and not being efficient or productive. So I will be setting some intentions around that, because I do have a history of working to the point of burnout, which I know a lot of us do and feel that pressure to perform. But it's something that I really want to be conscious of in 2026, because I just don't think it's good for the mind, body or soul. So yes, at the moment I don't want to try and fix something that's not completely broken, but I do feel like I need to weave in bits and pieces here and there just to keep an eye on things and make sure that I'm finding good balance between personal life and my corporate life as well. The last but by no means least theme is finding fun and joy. So finally, I just want to introduce some fun and some joyous times in 2026 after what seems like such a tumultuous and serious 2025. I'm really proud of myself for still being able to find joy and notice joy in the small things, even when I've been going through tough times. And that's something that I want to keep throughout 2026. Not only keep, but kind of maximize and build on. I think it's so important to have a zest for life because, you know, life is short in the grand scheme of things. We only have a good 70 years in us, and I feel like I'm well on my way in midlife, so it's really important to me to find joy in whatever I can. I really just want to maintain and build on that zest for life. I just think in the modern world it's so easy, and it's human nature to just focus on the negative or things that are going wrong, but it takes more effort to focus on what's actually going right, and that is something that I would love to build some more intentions around in 2026 and have some more specific goals. So I'm hoping that's quite noticeable by the end of the year in 12 months. And I'm already, to be honest, feeling it now. Even though 2025 wasn't the greatest year, when I think back and reflect, there's still a lot that I can think about that made me happy and made me joyous and made me grateful for being able to live life in the capacity that I do. And just to note, these moments don't have to be massive grand gestures like big international holidays. They can be the smallest of things. And whilst I acknowledge that there definitely were down moments where joy and fun were the last things on my mind, on the flip side, I also have to remember that part of this is actually relearning what I enjoy now rather than what I enjoyed when I was in a partnership with someone else. So this again feeds into what I was talking about earlier under the umbrella of relationships, and about how the most important relationship that I want to nurture is the relationship that I have with myself, and just re-establishing and bringing to the fore things that I find joy and pleasure in, which I would say has definitely shifted in the last couple of months. I think pleasure and joy really can coexist alongside healing when you've been through a breakup or some other major life-changing event. And I think it's important to realize that two things can be true at the same time. You can be in the midst of navigating a really tough time in life, but also find little elements or moments of joy and fun. Okay, so those are some of the themes and intentions that I want to try and set some goals under for 2026. The next couple of weeks throughout January, I'm going to think more deeply about them and hone them down into more specific achievable goals that I can set myself over the next 12 months. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the whole point of this soft and gentle reset is just to allow the time and space to make achievable and actionable goals rather than rushing into something that might not necessarily align with your goals and values in life. By the end of January, the hope is that I would have done enough reflection, enough thinking, enough journaling to be able to put pen to paper and work out what my specific goals for 2026 might be. I'm really hoping that I can pull together some kind of vision board as well, whether that be digital or physical. I really want to be able to visualize the 2026 goals that I'm pulling together for myself, and I feel like that's a really good way of embracing one of my themes under the creativity umbrella to try and incorporate more creative endeavors and projects into 2026. So with that, I'll be hitting two birds with one stone, which I'm very happy about. So I'll be sharing that in a kind of wrap-up video, hopefully towards the end of January. If a soft and gentle reset throughout January is something that you're interested in taking part in, then definitely follow along with me. You can do a similar exercise whereby you're thinking and reflecting throughout January and then using what you've learned and the information you've gathered to set your own goals towards the end of January. There is absolutely no pressure to have this done by 1st of January, in my opinion. And I think the whole point is to make sure that those goals are firstly achievable and realistic, also in alignment with your values for life going forward. I think when it comes to goal setting, it's all about moving as fast or as slow as you feel comfortable with. And ultimately, I think we just need to be kind to ourselves in the process. Let me know in the comments how you're personally approaching 2026, especially if it's different to the way I'm doing it. I'm really interested in how people are embracing the new year, and yeah, I'd love to know if you're comfortable sharing. Also, please feel free to share any goals or intentions that you're hoping to bring forward with you in 2026, and hopefully we can have a little to and fro in the comments, which would be lovely. That wraps up this video. I'm sending you so many good wishes and moments of joy throughout the next 12 months, and I hope you have the best day. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I will see you next time. Bye.